Awesome.
Next, I'd like to introduce Catherine Volachenko. She'll talk on festival and events team. Catherine?
Okay, thank you, Charlie. Well, it'll take me just a couple minutes to get set
Sure.
up with the PowerPoint.
All right.
And so, okay. Oh,
I had those moments
it grew,
too.
it grew. I didn't put it there, so it grew legs on me. Okay. I'll get my pointer put together. I improvise with my pointer using a bore sight. Okay, in a second. Yeah. Kept forgetting to buy a laser pointer, so I had to improvise. Okay, Scott, whenever you're ready. All right, well, I'm Catherine Voloshenko, Chair of District 8. And 3 years ago, I was Secretary of District 6. And as such, I had the pleasure of working closely with Tom DeVilbiss, the person that put this symposium together. And we were talking about, during a conference call in early 2017, I came up with a plan that would help to increase District 6 exposure. And as a result, after committee approval, we decided to purchase an outreach booth. Okay, and it's just one way that we try to help put District 6 on the map. Okay, after committee approval, we purchased this tent, table, and chairs online. And what we did was we purchased a 10 by 10 pop-up canopy tent, super easy to assemble, and with 2 people, takes about 20-25 minutes with a bit of practice. The cost was $250 in 2017, and that included shipping. And I'm sure all of you are familiar with some form of these little tents. You've seen them at festivals, fairs, hobby shows, I believe. Craft shows, that's what I was thinking of. So anyway, this is, so we came up with this. First we started with the tent. And this is self-explanatory. It's a vinyl table. It's 8 feet by 30 inches. Vinyl table. It's very light, weighing in at only 37.26 pounds. It's very easy to carry and set up. The cost was $55 in 2017. That also included the shipping. And once again, self-explanatory that a folding chair, it is padded. The price for this set of 4 folding chairs was $100 in 2017, which included the shipping as well. total time to, from initial order to getting the finished product was about 1 week from Midwest Graphics of Animals. And this is a banner that we designed. The district or region needs to have a concise and positive message that's visually appealing. And the cost of this banner was $250 in 2017 from a local graphic designer, which happened to be north of Annapolis in District 6. So we were able to keep the money very local. As you can see with the graphics, it's easy to read, it stands out, it conveys our party, and it sends a positive message. And this is just one example of an outreach event that we set up or tent or outreach booth at. And it was a solar eclipse event at Mystical Horizons. It's up on Highway 43. And once again, Tom DeVilbus, he put this together. Okay. And approximately about 30 people showed up for this. And it was fun. Just a side note, it was fun. I'll some more pictures on that. Okay, so anyway, here's looking out over the valley, or I should say out over to the southeast. And it was a nice day. It was partly cloudy, but we had glasses, viewing glasses. But getting down to the mechanics of the booth, these booths, you need to understand that they are not that resistant to wind. But the principle remains the same as in regards to just having a table. And we had free water, and we had some food available, just some box lunches that the district paid for. And people had a good time, as you can see. It was a nice day, and Marvin, he mingled, and he does what he does best, mingles and talks issues. So, okay. And this is the Bottom County Fair, as you can see. Then the cost for the booth space was $156 for 3 days. And as you can see, this was an indoor space that was comfortable. The only problem was to find volunteers to work the booth. Tom DeVilbus and Robert Tolar had to split shifts for this booth and for the most part of other 2018 events. The county fairs perhaps could be considered more of a district-sponsored event, but it's just an illustration of that they were short of help. They were short of volunteers to man the booth. But that's just an example. That's just an example of an indoor setup. You don't have to have a tent, obviously. And this was basically our most successful event in terms of cost and outreach, and just basically visiting with the people. This event turned out to be our best in terms of location, right next to the school, right there. Weather and for people stopping in. We offered free bottled water, and on the bottles we had a sticker of an exact copy of the banner graphics. We also had the only garbage can within 2 blocks, which in itself drew a few more to come and ask questions. We had it sitting over there. And as you can see, we decorated up with some few little regalia there, and the banner was in the back. And had a whiteboard here for Tommy had different little talks and things scheduled within the booth itself. So this turned out to be a very good day. Okay, and here's another angle. This is from the northeast, and as you can get a relative size of the booth setup. There's Tom, and like I said, we had a choice spot. The parade was right down the main street here, and yeah, it was great. So, and it helped that I knew a lot of people in Drake, so that kind of helped a little bit too. But the thing is with some planning and communication with an event planning committee, and I mean like the Drake All-School Reunion Committee or a committee, you want to work with those people, one can secure a very nice location. And the total cost of the District 6 for 2017, booth and equipment were $550. That was one time. Food and water, about $300 reoccurring. Space rental, $150 for the Bottineau County Fair. So these are rounded numbers, of course, so approximately $1,000. District 6 or even District 4, or Region 4, excuse me, Region 4 outreach booths would have had a greater impact and attained more visibility had there been more assistance from the North Dakota Democratic Nonpartisan League Party in regards to either financial support or just plain and simple more volunteers. A perfect opportunity for any Democratic Nonpartisan League candidate to, what are the advantages of a live outreach booth? These are the advantages. And they are a perfect opportunity for any Democratic Nonpartisan League candidate to directly interact with the public. Any region could own a complete outreach booth setup for between $500 and $600. And if the Democratic Nonpartisan League Party could set its suggested annual budget of $2,500 per region per year, that would help to defray costs, and perhaps a region could even reimburse volunteers' mileage within reason, of course. Because a lot of people have the time, but not necessarily the resources to go to these events and help out. And as everybody knows, our state is, we're really spread out. So, people need a little help, little incentive. And in conclusion here, with these incentives in place, the North Dakota Democratic Nonpartisan League would most certainly be able to recruit more volunteers and as a result, broaden our campaign visibility for 2020 and beyond. Thank you very much.
Hey, Catherine, after May, me and my wife, we invested in a 20 by 30 tent, canopy tent.
Okay.
And make it be known that any district, the NGL, whatever, the candidate coming up, it's offered to use
Perfect.
this stuff.
Yep, I would say keep it within the region or something.
Well, whoever wants to use it, I mean, that's what it's there for.
Okay,
We
we'll
bought
get
it for
together.
graduation, but the main reason we bought it was looking ahead to use it politically and other functions and stuff like that.
Perfect. Okay, thank you. Yeah, we'll get together on that. Okay, thank you. Give it back to Charlie. Thank you.
Am I seeing okay like this?
Yeah, oh, I got it. Thanks, Pat.
Okay, thank you, Catherine, for your plea for resources, and also as an example of how we can fire up for the next election cycle. Tom DeVilbiss will be our next speaker, and he's going to talk on Campaign Events Index.
He wasn't able to make it.
Right, he wasn't able to make it. So then I'll just introduce Shelley Lentz. We'll be talking today on podcasts.
Yeah, she's not here either. That would
She's
be
not here either,
that would
right.
be a splicing as well.
Right. Okay.
Catherine, are there any other people who are not here that he could introduce the same way?
Absolutely.
So who are the other people who are not here?
Well, as far as on the list,
Yes.
there's nobody. He covered them all. Yeah.
Good job.
Okay, thank you.
I made a mistake at the very beginning of your presentation, of your opener, and I wasn't on record. I only caught I caught most of it, but not the very beginning. So I think we'll have to do a take 2 on that, if that's
Oh,
okay.
okay, no, that's fine.
Yeah, just do up to where the presenters begin, and we just need to do a take 2.
And yours was the best, and that's why we have to do it again. You can't miss
Well, okay. We get to do it again.
Yep.
Ready to go? Okay, this is exploring the relationship of the Democratic NPL Party and the grassroots. During the campaign season, we hear a lot about engaging the grassroots. That appears to be shorthand for getting volunteers to phone bank, door knock, stuff envelopes. But there are a few other super volunteers from these grassroots that fully staff campaign offices, keep them open during normal business hours. These grassroots efforts are important. They're very important. But that's not what we'll be talking about here today. During the remainder of the election cycle, the grassroots get involved in other ways. They host house parties. They table at county fairs and other events. They do all kinds of outreach within their precincts, their districts, and community. During this period, we find the super volunteers acting as precinct leaders. They populate the district executive committee and even provide party leadership. This too is important, but again, this is not what we'll be talking about here today. The folks we will hear today are super volunteers who tackle the pressing issues of our time. They are activists whose purpose is to directly affect the political system, and in most cases, their activism involves them for 5 or more hours a week. Thus, we've dubbed them with the moniker 5+ activists, or the 5+ Ayers, pronounced the 5+ Ayers. They may or may not self-identify with the political party. They may or may not self-identify with activist movements such as the Tea Party or Invisible. They may or may not identify with national organizations such as Represent Us or Wolfpack. In fact, most will start out alone or with 1 or 2 friends and work up from there. These are the super volunteers we will be hearing from today. One fundamental obligation of the party is to somehow intuitively define the will of the people and publish it as the party platform. What better way to do this than tapping into the thoughts of those citizens most interested in the issue? Indeed, why couldn't the outputs of these grassroots organizations provide a first draft of the party platform? Is it within the vision that will ultimately benefit in the success of the independent efforts of the 5+ Ayers out there, if only we can figure out how to hear them? We are here today to ask how. Who brings what to the table, and what can the other expect? Today, we have invited several 5+ Ayers that have been active right here in North Dakota to address us. As it happens, most of them are active party members, and you will probably recognize their names. We've asked them to divert from their passions and address their process instead. They will give you a brief idea of what they're doing and how they're doing it. Better still, we've asked them to tell you what they need to help do it better. Okay.
Perfect. Okay. I just wanted, we have a few new faces in the room. Would anybody else wish to talk about what the party can do better in terms of outreach or communication? I know the previous speakers all pretty much covered it, but if there's anything else that anybody, feel free to come up and please. Yeah, come on up, Ruth. Thank you. All right. Thank you.
Thanks. Is there a microphone or no?
Yeah.
Or just talk?
It's just
Oh,
a
okay.
recorder, it's not really a
You're all
microphone.
set.
Oh, okay. Hi, everybody. My name is Ruth, and I'm currently district rep for House of Representative for District 27 in South Fargo. And so I just kind of wanted to make mention of working to you know, we had such a huge voter turnout in this past midterm election that had such high rates of voter suppression in our state. So it's really, I feel like a no-brainer to have more and better representation in our party. Currently, I think I'm the only, well, no, I don't want to say that because I want to see better representation in our party. I got to spend a little bit of time with one of the people who was involved with the original Nonpartisan League in the earlier days, and I was told and reminded again that a lot of our Native Americans were a part of the Nonpartisan League, and so I hope that we can still continue to honor that tradition. And it really is true. It's not playing the race card or playing identity politics at all. The truth is that we are here in North Dakota and we're often ignored. And as you've seen in the past, you know, we operate in separate silos, and the party has a great opportunity right now in front of them to have better representation. I see it in the legislature, even though I represent an urban district. Just being at the table and seeing things that happen in the legislature, for example, language being deleted from code regarding Human Services Board representation and deleting sex and deleting race and ethnicity for representation on these human services boards. Doesn't make sense to me. And there were no Indigenous people at the table or people of color or people of different sexual orientation to counter that being done. So that tells me that's a blatant example of why we need better representation. So I hope that we will continue to honor the NPL's tradition and working to have meaningful relationships with our tribal nations, and also we need more women at the table. So thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, Denisha?
Okay, yeah, I think so.
Did you do an introduction for Ruth? Could you do one? I can edit it.
Okay,
If you could just introduce her.
Ruth Buffalo, right?
District 20,
Okay.
yeah, District 27, House of Reps.
Okay. Okay, our next speaker, our next presenter will be Ruth Buffalo up from the House of Representatives in District 27, I believe. Thank you.
Perfect.
Okay.
He's got some editing work to do, huh? I'm excited.
We're gonna squish this down to a minute and a half. You watch.
Okay, so are you going? Okay, so here we have examples of 5+ Ayers in action right here, under our nose in North Dakota. They've been doing their thing all along during the last election cycle and right up to this legislative session. You heard today what their goals were, how they fell short, and what it would have taken to be more successful. You heard them ask for resources, like Catherine's Festival and Events Management Physical Kit, or the hosting account and service space for Scott's URL program. Yes, these require resources, but maybe not as much as you think. $2,500 would go a long way. Far more important are the requirement would be the standardization and training. Primarily that will be in the use of free resources such as SOS website or Google Docs. Just a little push to complete the podcast project or help Pat with his leadership calls might be all it would take to move the organization to a whole new level. But most of all, what it needs is some attention. Leadership seems to be unconcerned about Pat's leadership calls. Well, yes, they do participate, usually when asked, but wouldn't there be more participation if they were talking it up? Why isn't the district officer hearing about it? Why aren't the state officers using it in a way to communicate to the district officers? Why is it not being used as a training platform? So what are we asking for? We're asking that in 2019 and 2020, in the election cycle, devote some time and effort to studying what your 5+ Ayers are trying to do and helping them to do it, at least encouraging them a little. We're asking for some form of token funding to encourage more super volunteers to join the effort. And we're asking for some form of centralized leadership, coordination, to keep all of our various efforts on an even keel. We want to assure you a little investment in time and money will take the party a long way, a long way. So thank you, and thank you for your attention.
Perfect. Thank you for that. Thank you. Well done. Thank you.
Okay.
What's a 5+ Ayer? Was that at the beginning of this just one or before?
It's in the paragraph here, yeah.
Rachel, that's something that Tom came up with, just for this.
Yeah, it's a
That's
term.
for 5 hours a week.
Yeah, it's a term, it's the folks we hear, this is what Tom wrote, this is part of the folks we hear from today are super volunteers who tackle the pressing issues of our time. They are activists whose purpose is to directly affect the political system. In most cases, their activism involves them for 5 or more hours per week. Thus, we dub them with the moniker 5+ activists or 5+ Ayer, pronounced, and then they or may not self-identify with a political party. It's a general term. All right. Okay.